Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So it is a new month. It is May. It is already May 8th, which means it is time for a new prediction. We're currently 6 months away from the 2022 midterm elections, so we have more data than ever before. A lot of primaries are happening this month. Several primaries actually have already happened. And we're getting closer and closer, so we're going to analyze how the map looks this month. Will much change at all? You're going to see in this video. But first, I have to tell you guys about my very good friends over at Noble Gold. So, it is time to set the goals for the next cycle of inflation. This way, you're always moving forward, growing, making money, and not losing it. Imagine having more freedom and more fun. You can do so now by starting a gold IRA with Noble Gold now and fighting inflation. And this month, for every IRA above 20K, you'll get an incredible 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin completely free as a thank you. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call 877-646-5347 now to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. So, all right. This is our map right here, 43 in the safe red, 44 in the safe Democrat. So we're going to fill out this map from the top down. We'll start off with the safe red states that are remaining, which will be Iowa and Ohio. The primary just happened there. J.D. Vance should cruise to an easy election victory over Tim Ryan. I think he'll win it by 10 plus points, and it will just solidify the realignment in the Rust Belt even further. Also, the state of Alaska. Hopefully, you can get rid of Murkowski because that would essentially be a flip. Shabaka, even, in some polls that we've seen, even taking ranked choice voting into account, it is neck and neck. That is going to be a very huge election that's going to be taking place there up in the state of Alaska. So those are the safe states I wanted to fill out. Now we'll start off with the likely states. We'll move to the likely Republican states, of which there are a few. The state of Florida. Now, Marco Rubio may well end up winning by a safe margin. I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but he is an electoral juggernaut in Florida, and he's not going to lose. Florida's a red trending state. Ron DeSantis has been solidifying it as a state that's going to be Republican for years and years to come, and I wouldn't be shocked if Rubio won by a safe margin at the end of the day, but for now we'll put it as likely red. He'll win by close to 10. We also have the state of Wisconsin, where Ron Johnson, who is fairly popular in the state, is running for re-election. He will more than likely trample one of these far-left individuals like Mandela Barnes. It should be an easy victory, especially in this national environment. He will do better than Trump in the WOW counties in Wisconsin. He will run up big margins there, and he's going to hold a lot of the rural support base in the rest of the state. It's going to be a big victory. Wisconsin's going to be the new Ohio. It's going to be a state that is going to zoom right. It's going to be likely red, probably, in my opinion, in 2024 and beyond. It's going to get safer and safer. There's just so much room to grow. I mean, you see a lot of these rural counties, they could easily be darker pink and red moving forward. I firmly believe that they will. So Wisconsin, likely red. Also, before we move on to the likely Dem side, North Carolina, I'm going to put this one as likely Republican as well. I firmly believe that with this national environment, North Carolina is already a lean Republican state usually, and Ted Budd is a great candidate. He will do fairly well, in my opinion, in the Charlotte exurbs, but he will run up the margin significantly in the rural part of the state, especially when you're looking at what voters are most enthusiastic to turn out for the midterms. When you're taking polling into account, the national environment's likely going to move to the right by like 10, maybe even 15 points, even taking this Roe thing into account. And it's like, honestly, I might have to apologize for my last video because I said it would be a wash. Now I'm thinking, hey, it proves to people that voting Republican actually paid off for once and will energize the base even more. And when you see the people on the left having their scream at the sky meltdowns, acting crazy about this, and you take the fact that this victory gives the right even more momentum and it demoralizes the left, personally, I think Roe getting overturned could help Republicans in the midterms easily. So add North Carolina to the likely red column. On the likely Dem side, Washington, This one could be closer. A lot of polling has had it fairly close. I'll probably move it into the safe column if there isn't anything that materializes, but I could easily see this state being within 10, given from what we've seen, the metrics in terms of polling, in terms of fundraising, where the energy is, but it's not likely to flip, especially at the national level. So we'll put it in the likely column. We're probably going to move it to safe before we know it there. But beyond that point, this is a massive wave, and we've seen crazy things happen. I'm not saying it's going to flip, but could it be closer than expected? Absolutely. I think Oregon's governorship is going to flip. We'll get into that in the governor's prediction that's coming up soon. So moving forward, I think that we look at the state of Colorado, and this is a state that's just too far gone. I don't see a strong Republican challenger, and I know the national environment is moving significantly to the right, but at the same time, I still think that Michael Bennett's probably going to end up winning by around 5 or 6 points or so. This is not the state it was in 2004. A lot of liberal Californians have moved there. Yes, there's been a lot of conservative Californians that have moved to places like Nevada, Arizona, Texas, but all the liberal ones are either moving to the Pacific Northwest or they're moving to Colorado, and they're moving the state left even further. Population growth in Denver has definitely aided and abetted this trend. You see mass immigration, a lot of factors, educational trends within suburbs. Either way, this state should not be on the radar for Republicans, especially because Cory Gardner is not going to run. Maybe he would make it closer, but even then it wouldn't be a sure thing, even in this national environment. So 49 to 46. Let's start off on the East Coast, and we're going to work our way west. New Hampshire, we still don't know who the nominee is going to be. There still is some time. I believe it's one of the later primaries of the cycle. Some people are saying people like Frank Edelblitz, who narrowly lost the governor's primary to Sununu back in 2016, might run. And there's just a lot of speculation over who the candidate would be. Maggie Hassan is not that popular. And when you have a national environment shift like this, it is very possible that somebody who is, a Trumpian candidate like Don Bolduc might actually be able to win up in New Hampshire because of this. And we don't know who the nominee is going to be just yet, like I said. But either way, I'm going to keep this one in the tilt Republican column, just because of the national environment moving, because Hassan's popularity is not that high. Shaheen was an electoral juggernaut. She had a very high favorability rating, but you look at the favorables for Maggie Hassan, and they're like in the 30s and 40s, and a lot of the polls that we've seen have this thing neck and neck, and the incumbent's like at 45%. Yeah, I'm thinking Bolduc can actually pull this off in New Hampshire and take the victory there. So we'll move that one into the Republican column, 50 to 46. Pennsylvania, oh, this is a good one. Pennsylvania, that primary is an absolute train wreck, but the white pill is you see certain candidates like David McCormick falling into third place, and Dr. Oz, who endorsed Trump, who's weak on a lot of issues, is a very sketchy past, is not necessarily running away with this, but you see the grassroots MAGA candidate Kathy Barnett start to pick up some traction. She's actually really good on immigration. She's fairly good on energy. She's, started off her campaign very shaky, but she seems to have gotten it together so far. Not necessarily enough to get Trump's attention, but either way, the base seems to like her quite a bit. And I think she could pull off the primary and obviously would defeat Fetterman because Fetterman's a loser that anybody would defeat. But either way, I think it's going to be close, mainly because of the weakness on the Republican side, whether the candidates don't have the resources or they're just really bad on the issues like Dr. Oz. And David McCormick is the worst. I put out a tweet the other day. I said, Barnett better than Oz, better than McCormick. That's the tweet, which is so true regarding the Pennsylvania Senate race, which is an absolute train wreck, by the way. But either way, I'm hoping Barnett pulls it off. I think she could win the nomination fairly easily, and it proves that if people are going to beat Trump endorsements in these primaries, it's because they ran a more America First campaign. They ran a more MAGA campaign than the Trump-endorsed candidate, which is true. So Pennsylvania, I'm actually going to put this one, I'll put it in the lean Republican. I think Republicans are going to take it by a couple of points or so. I mean, you look at this state, the Trump base is throughout the entire state, even the suburbs of Pittsburgh, very Trumpian, very white working class. Democrats are not going to see the turnout in the Philadelphia area more likely than not than what we saw in 2020. The energy has shifted. Biden's popularity in the state, the home state factor, isn't really there compared to where it was 2 years ago. His favorables in the state, especially surrounding the Scranton area, have dipped significantly, and the state's going to go in the Republican column. And Fetterman is a train wreck. Fetterman is awful. The Republican candidates are not very good, but Fetterman's super far left. He's likely to win the nomination. Connor Lamb may have been their chance to get this fake moderate up there who can, tote an AR-15 on stage during the general election season, trying to convince Trump supporters that he's actually based, and he's not. He's a loser. He's an establishment neoliberal, and he's proven that by the way that he's voted in Congress. So beyond that point, Pennsylvania is a state that is likely going to stay in the Republican column. But Fetterman's the likely nominee anyways at this point, according to polling, and he's just so weak. Super far left, a big, burly stoner who just criticizes Trump supporters on Twitter all day and calls them fascists. Yeah, that's going to win over Pennsylvanians, 100%. But whatever. Moving on, Georgia, Herschel Walker. All you got to do to win Georgia is do a little bit better in the suburbs. And we've seen a lot of these special elections take place in them when you see 15 to 20 point shifts to the right. And I think a lot of that is the energy factor. The Atlanta area has genuinely changed over the past 10 to 15 years. But at the same time, it seems like you will see a rebound in the midterms anyways, and maybe even in 2024 in the state, even if the state is going to be gone by the end of the decade for Republicans, as I believe it might be. You're still going to see a favorable midterm year. I think that Herschel Walker is going to win by, I don't know, I would probably clock in it in around 4 points, maybe even by more than that if he runs a fairly good general election campaign. And Warnock is awful. Kelly Loeffler was even worse because she didn't know how to exploit his weaknesses. She just called him radical liberal Raphael Warnock. And her establishmentarianness, insider trading, her being a robot is really what prevented Republicans from turning out for her and giving Republicans the Senate, which is why they don't have it right now. It's mainly because of her and her own incompetency. But either way, I think it's going to flip back. Herschel Walker, good ally of Donald Trump, has been a day one supporter of him. I am very confident that he will be a very solid conservative vote in the U.S. Senate as well. So beyond that point, we have two more states, Arizona and Nevada. Now, Mark Kelly barely won the state of Arizona in 2020, and he went up against Martha McSally, who, just to put it lightly, was not really anybody's favorite candidate for 2020 or 2018 for that matter. But Mark Kelly's fake moderate strategy worked. And now he has a track record that he's running from as a result, because he hasn't even been governing like a Sinema. He's been governing like your average establishment Democrat. At least Sinema pretends to be moderate. Mark Kelly doesn't. And as a result, Mark Kelly, very narrow 2020 election victory over Martha McSally. That strength in Maricopa County, in East Maricopa County, kind of like by the Mesa area, is that going to really be replicated? I'm not necessarily sure that it will be, and especially with the whole border crisis that's going on, you're going to see higher turnout in places like Yuma and Mojave County for Republicans. And just with the national environment trends, the fact that Blake Masters is a very politically savvy candidate, he's probably going to be the Trump endorsee at this point. Mark Brnovich, maybe there's some electoral problems with him. Jim Lehman is the current nominee, or Lamont. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. I've heard it both ways from people on the ground in Arizona, but Masters has the momentum for sure. He's running a serious campaign. His fundraising numbers are very good, doing far better than Brnovich, and Trump's endorsement will put him over the top, I think. I think he's going to pull a Vance, per se, where he does well in the debates, and then he will go out there and he will get Trump's endorsement, and he will win the primary at the end of the day, because Brnovich, just like Mandel, has had a very low ceiling, and he hasn't been able to move past that. And it's just really up for Masters to put it into high gear. He does events with Trump. He's probably going to be the nominee. Very good on policy, by the way. Very smart guy. Are there some limits with his charisma? Some people say yes, including himself, I think, in a tweet. But either way, I don't think it's going to matter at the end of the day. I think he's going to win. I think it's going to be by 3 points. I think Kari Lake's going to win by more, but we'll talk about that in the governor's video. And lastly, we have the state of Nevada. I don't have to go on a 2-minute spree about how the DSA has taken over the Nevada Democrat Party, but either way, their apparatus has been weakened. Everybody knows that. And this is a state where Trump did better in 2020 than he did in 2016, despite the national environment shifting left by a couple of points or so. And you look at Clark County, you're seeing an exodus in a lot of these polls. I mean, it is crazy what's going on in Clark County. Republicans doing better with white working class voters, even doing a little bit better there with Latinos. A little bit of a shift can go a long way in a big population center. Republicans usually haven't been doing that well in these big metro areas, but Las Vegas, just like Miami, seems to be an exception. And I wouldn't be shocked if you see Clark County pull a Miami-Dade. Just like the GOP became a far stronger party in Florida than the Florida Dems, you're going to start to see the same thing in Nevada. And as a result, Clark County is going to be shifting Republican. And I believe Catherine Cortez Masto will lose. Adam Laxalt, solid candidate. Overall, Cortez Masto is polling very abysmally for an incumbent. She's polling at like 41%. Even if she's like ahead in the polls, there's so many undecideds. As an incumbent, if you want to be clearly favored, you should be polling close to 50 in the election mafia polls, at least from the onset, but she's not, and as a result, I believe this is going to flip. Laxalt's a good candidate, great on immigration, fairly solid on the issues, and Republicans are going to have 54 seats in the Senate, and the 2024 map is going to be even more favorable. There's a real chance they get 62, and they're going to hold the Senate for quite some time, in my opinion. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, and join the website and buy the merch. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.